everyone, Wes here for Family Gamer TV, and I'm with my son Joe, and we're going to be talking about Project Spark again. We're going to show you another of our creations and work on something a little bit different to the last video. Obviously in that last video we did a fetch quest where we had to talk to an NPC, go and get a sword and return it to him. But this time we're going to do something a little more inventive, I guess, and a little bit more like a game. So Joe, what have we got in mind?
Well, we're going to do a game where you have to shoot barrels and you're a first-person shooter shooting the barrels in an Arctic world.
And we've got to get 10 of those barrels to win the game effectively. So we'll have a score, we'll keep track of that, and hopefully we'll put some message up at the end when you've got 10. So let's have a look at the project. So we need to move into create mode to start the process. So Joe, take us in. And we'll create that. Now, first up, we get those options to decide whether we're going to have flat or hilly surfaces. We get to pick our environment, and we get to pick our starting character type. So Joe's going to go through this. I think we should probably have mountains. We're going to try and find stuff. Or hills. Maybe hills. Oh, you went for mountains. Okay, so we were going to go with an Arctic world. There we go. And you see that desert there is an unlockable. So let's pick Arctic. Oh, that looks cool. And we've even got some water in there as well. Whatever you like, Joe. You can go for evening. And you've got a nice sunset there. So Project Spark will create this randomized world for us. And it will plonk a player, plonk being a technical term there, into the world, and we get to pick that player's brain. Which brain do we need, Joe? Oh, we need the type first, don't we? It doesn't really matter. Up to you, Joe. Woodland fighter male. Okay, and just leave him there. That's fine. And now we need the brain. So which one we go for?
First-person shooter.
That's right. So this will allow us to play the game as a first-person shooter. Apologies for Joe's cough there. He's woke up a little bit grotty this morning. So in we go. We need a few objects in our world and some code in those objects to make them react as we want. So the first thing we need to do, as you can see, Joe's showing off the first-person shooter controls. So if we drop into edit mode, Joe, and then we can start adding what we need. And there's lots of pre-canned stuff to help us. So the first thing we're going to add is a barrel, and that barrel is going to be an exploding barrel. So Joe, if you can find that. So you go to your gallery picker, and you've got a whole host of objects you can search for. I haven't worked out if they've got Connect integration here for searching, but they should have. So there you go, 2 types of explosive item. And Joe's going to pick the explosive barrel. And we put that down somewhere. Anywhere, Joe. Because later in the level we're going to duplicate that. Or rather, we will in the final version we'll show you. It'll be a little bit shortcut to get there. So, every object in the world has a brain. So let's have a look at that barrel's brain, Joe. So can you explain a little bit about what you can see here?
Well, it says when it started to die, which is what it means here. For each of the things I detect, damage it 35. So if it detects something, it will damage it 35.
And you've also got playing special effects, so an explosion. So when you blow the barrel up, it will put on the special effect for the explosion. And there's other items that allow you, so the other components of the brain that allow you to push it, and the requirements for that and how far it will get pushed and that kind of thing. So we need to add a line that's going to increment a global score, because what we want to happen is we want to have a score in this game that is impacted every time you blow a barrel. So we need to add in that line. So to do this we need a variable, and we don't need a when clause. We need it to happen when the barrel is dead. So we need to add that line underneath the first line in this barrel's brain. So I think you can move that bottom line up. If you grab that bottom line, Joe, and you can move... Oh, there we go. So no when, because the when is decided by the line above. We're going to add some do commands. So we need to add a global variable, because this is going to be the score, and it is bigger than just the barrel. So if we add a new variable, and for those of you not familiar with what variables are, they're a bit like containers really. So if you think of this like a little jar, and in this little jar we're going to put a number, and we get to give it a name. We can call it score. And then once we've got this little jar with our number in it, we can do things to it. So we can add other numbers to it, we can take numbers away, do lots of maths things with it. So we want to increment that number. And by that we mean we're going to add 1 to it. Well, we can increment it by any number, but in this instance we're just going to add 1. And you don't need to add a new number, there's numbers already in there, Joe. So if you come out of this, and if you replace that and go to... Oh, there you go. So now when the barrel explodes, we're going to increment our score by 1. But what we need to do is display that score, and we can add that control to a logic box. So a logic box allows you to add brain-like code to your world, rather than necessarily to an environment, rather than necessarily to an object. So if we edit that, Joe, again you see we've got the same kind of brain pages. Now with this one, Joe, we want to display the score. So again, I don't think we need a when, do we? So what are you going to pick for displaying the score?
So we're gonna do, like, it's gonna say player 1 score and then a number.
Okay, and we need to pick the right commands to place that on the screen. So can you do that for us? So in your do command, you need to pick the display option. And then if we add some text, so if we add another variable, but this time some text rather than a number. There we go. So here we're going to say player 1 score. And hopefully when this game's complete, we'll have limits in so that when you reach a score of 10, that certain things happen. And we'll add that stuff into Logic Box at the end. So we've got a red marker there, which means we've done something wrong. I don't think we need the global there. I think we can take that global, that's it, and we add the global after it. So if we add another one, which is the global at the end, so that we can call on our number, and then we can add our number. So this shows that we're going to display that text and then the score number that we set up previously. So if you pick that score number, Joe, that's it, yeah, that's the one. And then we need to decide where we're going to display it. So I think there's some display options, so can you have a look in there, Joe? So that's all the code we need for that display part, but we do want some other stuff to happen in here as well. And we'd like things to happen when the score reaches 10. So if we add in a line here, again we're going with the global and we pick our score. So when score, and then we can pick some mathematics commands, so we can do equal to, and then pick a number. And this time in numbers, if you go in numbers and then page, use the right bumper and you can page across, and there's 10 on the left there. Okay, and then we can do commands underneath, because we're going to do a couple of things here. So we can indent a command, which means that it's going to play as a response to the line above. And we're going to have two things. So we want to play a sound. So that's the special effects. There we go. Play sound. And we want to pick a mission complete sound from our gallery picker. So Joe's going to scroll through these. If you do a search for mission, I should probably do it actually. I'll do. There we go. And you can pick anyone you want.
That's one. Hail to the king.
Doesn't matter, Joe. Anyone. And then we'll add another line underneath, again, which we're going to indent, because it's going to be another line that gets carried out once the when clause in line 2 is correct. And this time we're going to display some text in the middle of the screen that says, what are we going to say?
Congratulations.
Good stuff. Right. So this will tell us that we've finished, hopefully. Joe's just going to find the right thing for that. So we'll save that. Come out. Now, I think that's our logic box complete. We've added the score increment to the barrel. So let's just give that a little test and see if, first of all, our score is displayed, and second of all, if we shoot that barrel that we put in the environment, it goes up. Comes the test. So Joe's in control now. He needs to find that barrel. There it is. You can shoot that barrel. Now you can see in the top right hand corner of the screen we have player 1 score. So hopefully when he shoots the barrel, the score goes up. Magic. Now we've only got 1 barrel in the environment, so we can't test this unless we stick another 10 in, but we do already have one we saved earlier. So Joe, let's go to the level we previously saved and see if that works. So Joe, while you're doing this and while you're trying to find the level, how about you tell people about the kind of things that you've been doing on Project Spark? What was the last thing you were trying to do?
The last thing I did was I put a Minecraft head on a character. I used the attachments thing in the edit option, and I attached up quite a few cubes.
Yep, you're trying to build a Steve-like main character. You've seen something similar to that in the game. And we've seen some really cool stuff in the user-created content that you've been able to download. There's a lot of variation, 2D games, 3D games, first-person shooters. You can do almost anything with Project Spark. So here you go. We have a world, and we have a number of barrels in it, and Joe's going to play through this. So Joe, show us what you're made of. There we go. We can see his score going up, and he's going to go and hunt down these barrels now. While you're doing that, Joe, what other things have you tried and liked with Project Spark's user-created stuff?
Well, there was this person that did lightsabers in a level, and there was also a person that did a pirate level.
And I think he's heading in the right direction to quite a few barrels now that I have conveniently placed. I think the sunset that you picked instead of the star field looked quite nice, Joe, although I do like the star field and the Arctic. There's another barrel. And of course you can do all sorts of things to make this more interactive. You can have platforms that move around with these barrels on to make it trickier. You can do all sorts of things. You can have a maze with barrels. Lots of really simple game ideas that you can put together. You can make this multiplayer, so you could be competing with someone to do it. We were going to look at that, but unfortunately it seems that the local multiplayer, we couldn't quite work out how to get that going. Online multiplayer seems quite straightforward. You just create a party on your Xbox One with your friends. Here we go. Can you line this one up? Can he do it? There we go. Score of 8. You're almost there, Joe. Hopefully the ending bit works properly. I did ask Joe to make a few tweaks to it earlier, so we'll see. We'll see. We did play a coin dozer level as well, didn't we, Joe? Tell us about that.
Well, you had to get all the champions down from the coin dozer, and you had a certain amount of coins. When you got all the champion statues down, you got some more coins when you got a champion statue down.
And for those not familiar with the coin dozer, that's where the coins drop down, and you have like a little, I guess it's like a little spade that pushes the coin. So Joe, hit that one, and that should do it. There we go. Congratulations. Hopefully you heard a sound file. We haven't got our headphones in, so we can't hear it, but hopefully you did. But you've got the congratulations message. So there you go. That's our look at a first-person shooter. Very simple, just barrels, but all the basics are in there with Project Spark to allow you to put this stuff together really, really simply. And you saw how many lines of code we used. Hardly any just to do this. So it'd be very easy for example, a parent to put together simple games for his kids to play, or in fact his kids to showcase their abilities. Joe's having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, there we go. That's our first-person shooter, which we've called Barrel Blast. And if you get too close, you'll also take some damage as well, so you've got to watch that. Joe, how do you think that went?
That went amazing.
Yep, I think we're pretty happy with that, and we've shared that with the Project Spark community as well, so we'll get to see what they think. It's pretty basic, but we're just starting out. And Joe, you're really enjoying it at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah.
What's been your favourite bit of Project Spark so far?
Well, there was this game that someone made, and I played it, and it was actually a Minecraft game. And you were actually Steve, made of blocks. And I wondered how they did it, so I went into edit mode for the game, and I looked at it, and it was actually a person with attachments that were blocks. So it was a person with attachments that were squares, and they looked like Steve.
Awesome. So they'd strung a load of squares together to make it look like Steve. And you showed me one earlier that had lightsabers in it. And we might have to show you some of these cool creations from the Project Spark community in a later video. But I hope you enjoyed our attempt at a first-person shooter. We'll be back with some more in future. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of these little projects we're doing. And, of course, if there's anything you'd like us to try, we'll give it a go. And, of course, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of those future videos on Project Spark. But I guess that's it for today, Joe. So stay tuned for more from Family Gamer TV.